I arrived early, wearing the navy dress Daniel once said made me look elegant. I stood at the edge of the venue, watching people drift in, laughing, hugging, clinking glasses. No one came to greet me. Not Daniel. Not Kara. I told myself it was chaos. Nerves. Distraction. I walked in anyway. A woman with a clipboard greeted me. "Name?" she asked. I gave it. She squinted. "Oh, you're the groom's mother?" There was hesitation. A flash of something behind her eyes. Then fake cheer. "Right this way." She led me through the main hall, past the white florals, the glimmering chandelier, the long table where Kara's family sat beaming, and out a side door. We entered the kitchen. There was a small, round table tucked in the corner, next to stacked trays of shrimp skewers. She gestured. "You can sit here. Staff will bring you a plate." I looked around. Steam rolled off hot pans. A busboy nearly bumped my shoulder. A dishwasher clattered behind me. "This is my seat?" She nodded quickly and vanished. I sat, quietly. No questions. No protest. Just watched, numb, as the wedding unfolded on the small screen someone had set up near the kitchen door. Someone had set up a live stream for overflow guests. The groom's mother, was one of them. I watched Daniel walk down the aisle. He looked nervous but handsome. Kara looked radiant, though her smile had an edge to it. I caught glimpses of Linda, Kara's mother, sitting in the front row, dabbing at fake tears. The officiant asked, "Who gives this woman away?" Linda stood, proud. "I do," she said, voice trembling with theater. I choked on my wine. I didn't expect to be acknowledged, but to be erased? When the ceremony ended, waitstaff buzzed in and out of the kitchen, discussing the reception layout. I heard my name mentioned, only to clarify where to leave my food. I wasn't part of any toast, any plan. I had no seat card, no mention in the program. I sat and ate alone. Filet mignon, overcooked. Champagne warm. I didn't belong here, not even among strangers. I was background noise. A young server glanced at me, then whispered to her co-worker, "Isn't that the groom's mom? Why is she in here?" The other girl shrugged. "Bride's mom said she wanted her out of the way." Something inside me went cold. I thought back to last summer, when Daniel first told me about Kara. She had a shiny kind of charm, a practiced sweetness. I saw the way she looked at Daniel. Not like someone who loved him, but someone who had chosen him, like a prize. Still, I welcomed her. I hosted dinners, bought her birthday gifts, even loaned Linda money when she claimed her husband's pension had dried up. I never asked for anything in return. I watched as the DJs started playing their first dance. The crowd cooed. Kara smiled like she'd won. Daniel's eyes flicked to the kitchen once. Just once. Our eyes met. He looked away. He knew. He saw. And he let it happen. I drained my glass, folded my napkin, and smiled. Not because I was happy, but because I was done. They thought they were clever. They thought I'd stay small. I sat in that kitchen, humiliated, forgotten, but I'd seen the group chat. I had the photos. I knew their secrets. I knew everything. They just didn't know what I could do with it. Not yet. 8 months before the wedding. Kara left her phone on my coffee table during a visit. It buzzed nonstop. Curiosity wasn't the reason I looked. It was instinct. A name caught my eye, Jason. Daniel's best friend. The best man. The texts weren't platonic. Not even close. Screenshots. Photos. Messages. Last night was amazing. You're the only one who gets me. One had a selfie of Kara in lingerie, taken in what looked like Jason's apartment. Another showed Jason shirtless, holding a wine glass I recognized from Linda's house. Kara wasn't just cheating. She was reckless. It didn't stop there. I scrolled deeper. A group chat with Linda and Kara came up. They joked about Daniel, called him emotionally dense, laughed about how easy it was to manipulate him. Linda sent Kara a meme. "Find a fool, build an empire." Kara replied, "Already halfway there." More messages. Kara and Linda discussed Kara's brief affair with Daniel's boss, Tom. They used code at first, but it was obvious. Make sure he keeps Dan on track for promotion, Kara wrote. He'll do anything to keep this quiet. Linda replied with a thumbs up and a champagne emoji. That same week, Daniel was offered a surprise raise. Jason wasn't innocent either. There was a string of messages between him and Linda. Flirty late-night talk. A voice note of her moaning his name. I felt sick. Jason had known Daniel since high school. They went on family trips together. I'd fed that boy at my table more times than I could count. I backed everything up, airdropped the files to my email, stored them in a secure folder, labeled them by date. Every detail, every betrayal, neatly organized. I told no one, not even Daniel. I kept smiling, kept nodding, kept baking lemon cakes Kara said she liked. Let them think I was a harmless old woman. The next month, I paid for Kara's bridal gown. She cried when I handed her the receipt. You're like a second mother, she said, hugging me. I held her a second longer than she expected, just to steady myself. I wanted to scream. That winter, Linda invited me for lunch. Let's bury the past, she said, sipping Chardonnay. This wedding will bring us together. She mentioned needing a small loan just to cover renovations. I transferred the money the same day, not because I was generous, because I wanted her to feel safe. They believed I was blind, or stupid, or both, but I saw the pattern. Kara was a product of her mother, self-serving, performative, transactional. She didn't love Daniel. She was building an empire on a foundation of lies, sex, and favors. And Daniel? I wasn't sure if he knew. Maybe he suspected. Maybe he ignored it. He'd been distant, distracted, more focused on Kara's happiness than his own. He once told me, she keeps me grounded. I now realize what that meant. She clipped his wings. I didn't confront anyone. Not yet. I wanted them all in one place. I wanted them dressed up, smiling, confident. I wanted them to think they'd won. That's why I said yes to every request. That's why I poured money into a wedding that was a lie. That's why I never flinched when they whispered about me behind my back. They thought they were playing me. They had no idea I was building a case. And when the time was right, I'd make sure every lie burned under the brightest light possible. Their perfect day. I wasn't supposed to matter. That was the message behind every choice they made. But what they forgot was that everything they stood on had my fingerprints all over it. I was a quiet engine funding their fantasy, the silent partner in their so-called dream wedding. Daniel had no idea that the job offering credit to luck was actually a favor. Tom, his boss, owed me. Years ago, I helped his wife through a lawsuit. She never forgot. One call, and Tom pulled some strings. Daniel got the role, Kara got a brag, and I was invisible in the story they told. The wedding? 70% funded by me. Kara didn't know. Daniel did, but he downplayed it, said I wanted to help. Linda claimed she and her late husband had saved for it. She even made a speech at the engagement dinner, thanking her own family's legacy of generosity. I smiled and bit my tongue. Kara's gown, the custom decorations, the venue deposit, all came from my bank account. Linda still owed me for that emergency loan. I never reminded her. I wanted her to forget. People are careless when they think the debt's erased. Even the photographer had a deal through me. My neighbor's son ran the studio. I secured the best package at half price. DJ? A friend's daughter. Every piece of their big day was touched by me. I moved behind the curtain, silent and steady. And yet, at every turn, I was edited out like a bad paragraph. The final table arrangements confirmed it. When I asked about seating, Kara said, "Oh, Linda's handling that. She just as better taste in formal events." A pause, a condescending smile. "But don't worry, you'll be close." Close to the door, apparently. Close to the garbage bins. I listened to Daniel defend her decisions. She's just stressed. Don't take it personal. That's what hurt most. Not the seating, not the exclusion, but his silence. His refusal to draw a line. He'd rather keep peace with liars than stand beside the woman who raised him. Still, I didn't argue. I pretended to be the meek mother. I brought Kara little wedding prep gifts. Gave Linda spa vouchers when she mentioned feeling burnout. I helped host a shower and stayed out of photos when she asked. I made myself smaller with each passing week, all while controlling the skeleton of the celebration. I paid vendors directly. The contracts were in my name. The credit lines used were mine. They trusted me to handle the boring parts, the adult parts. They never noticed that every agreement had a cancellation clause. Every deal had an out. They signed nothing. I signed everything. Linda once told Kara, loud enough for me to hear, after the wedding, we'll slowly ease her out. Make sure she doesn't hover when the grandkids come. It wasn't just exclusion. It was erasure, a planned one. I started preparing my exit, not in rage, but in precision. I made notes, double-checked payment deadlines, timed my actions. There would be no explosions, no messy public scenes, just silence. Until the moment the silence broke everything they thought they had. They made the mistake of thinking power was loud. It isn't. Power is quiet, polite, smiling, until it isn't. The moment the toast began, I texted the venue coordinator. A simple message. We're done. Within 10 minutes, the bar stopped serving. No explanation, just closed tabs and confused looks. Kara's cousin approached the bar for a refill and was turned away. The murmurs started quickly. Next was the catering. I had paid half the amount up front with a conditional agreement. Full payment by noon the day of. I canceled the second transfer that morning. When the main course had barely hit half the tables, service halted. Plates disappeared mid-meal. The kitchen went still. Waiters stopped moving. A bridesmaid flagged down a server and was told, contract breach. We're leaving. No one thought to ask me. No one remembered I was in control. I watched from the same kitchen table they'd stuck me at, invisible but present. One of the younger staffers had the wedding stream playing on their phone. The panic was beautifully unscripted. The photographer approached Kara quietly. He didn't make a scene, just packed his lenses. I had signed a conditional clause. If unpaid in full, work would not be delivered. He nodded to his assistant, and they walked out without a word. Kara didn't notice right away. But Linda did. She stormed after them in her heels, screeching. The DJ's contract had a hard stop at 7 p.m. unless paid in advance for overtime. At 6:59, the music cut mid-song. No warning. The floor was full of guests dancing when the silence hit. The DJ announced, "We've reached the end of the scheduled time. Thank you and good night." Daniel looked panicked. Kara looked furious. Linda started shouting at staff who were no longer listening. I watched it all from the corner of the kitchen, sipping water. No tears, no rage, just calm. Guests began leaving, some in confusion, others in quiet recognition that something had gone very wrong. Whispers grew louder. A few asked where I was. Someone told them I was probably resting. No one thought to check the kitchen. Jason was the first to lose his composure. He was pacing, phone in hand, trying to get the DJ or the photographer back. I knew he wouldn't. I had spoken with both of them personally days earlier and gave them the heads up. They were more than willing to cooperate. Linda tried to rehire the caterers on the spot, offering cash. It was too late. They were already halfway down the freeway. She turned on Kara next. They started arguing in front of guests. One of Kara's friends filmed it, thinking it was funny. That clip would surface online within hours. Daniel finally came to find me. His eyes were wide. "Did you know what's happening?" he asked, trying to keep his voice steady. I looked at him and said, "I did." He blinked. "Why?" I handed him a sealed envelope. Inside were printed screenshots. Every message, every image, every timestamp. I didn't say a word. I just watched him open it. His face drained of color. He didn't ask me anything else. I stood up, straightened my jacket, and walked out of the kitchen, past the collapsing dream, past the people who had erased me, past the lies now exposed to light. I didn't slam a door or make a speech. I had already said everything I needed to, without ever opening my mouth. The fallout wasn't loud. It was surgical. The morning after the wedding, I received the first call from Daniel. Missed. Then a second. A third. I didn't answer. I knew what he'd say. Knew the panic, the guilt, The shame would start pouring out. But I wasn't his lifeline anymore. I had been cut out, remember? By noon, Linda tried reaching out through a mutual friend. She said there had been a misunderstanding and hoped we could meet to clear the air. I declined, not rudely, just a simple final message. There's nothing left to clear. Kara tried to post a romantic wedding highlight reel the next day. A single, filtered photo of her and Daniel smiling under string lights. But the comments turned fast. People noticed the abrupt end of the night. Guests started chiming in. Why did the food stop? DJ bailed. No video? The post vanished within hours. Then came the leak. One of Kara's friends had been added to the wrong email thread. She received a folder link I had never shared, but someone else did, Daniel. After reading everything, he'd apparently forwarded it to his closest confidants. It spread like wildfire. Screenshots from the group chat, Kara's messages with Jason, Linda's voice note to him. Tom's name came up too, and that was enough to trigger chaos at Daniel's workplace. By midweek, Jason was removed as Daniel's best man in the online album, his face blurred in photos. He lost a big client deal at his job because someone recognized his name from the leaked texts. He'd been bragging about a promotion. That never came. Tom called Daniel in for a conversation. The details weren't public, but I heard through the grapevine that HR got involved. Even though Daniel was clean in that exchange, his name being in the mix made him a liability. His rise stalled cold. Kara tried to control the narrative. She said the texts were taken out of context. But screenshots don't lie, especially ones with timestamps and geotags. Her friends turned quiet. Invitations disappeared. A bridesmaid backed out of a joint business venture. Another one stopped replying altogether. Linda had it the worst. She was already financially unstable. The vendors, now aware they weren't being paid, started sending her invoices directly. Legal notices followed. The photographer refused to release any images. The DJ shared a now viral TikTok of the wedding that shut down at 7 p.m. People laughed, but Linda didn't. She tried to threaten me with lawyers. I simply forwarded the signed contracts, every one of them, with her name absent from all. I didn't gloat. I didn't speak publicly. I didn't tell my side to anyone, because silence, used right, is louder than any scream, and I had already done what they never saw coming. Daniel eventually showed up at my door. He looked smaller than I remembered. Not physically. Just less. He said, I didn't know how bad it was. I nodded. He said, I should have protected you. I agreed. Then he asked, can we fix this? I looked him in the eye and said, fix what? Because there was no us anymore. There was no seat to offer him, just as there had been no seat for me. The lesson wasn't revenge. It was consequence. They wrote me out of their story. So I rewrote the ending.